Hey everyone, I hope you are doing well and welcome to another Pokemon Go video. So apologies for the lack of uploads lately. It has been quite a while. There have just been a lot of life things that have happened, just in the last couple of months or so. So that is what's been happening. I'm not going to really get into too much details about that, but thank you all for just all of your support and all that just during this time. It really means so much. And we're going to be taking a look at some Halloween Cup videos because it is actually very close to Halloween. And right now in the Go Battle League rotation, the Halloween Cup and the Great League Remix are in place. So if you guys don't know what the Halloween Cup is, it is basically a limited meta format in the Great League. And there are only 5 types that are allowed, which are Poison, Bug, Dark, Fairy, and Steel. So those are the only 5 types that are allowed. Of course, a Pokemon can have dual typings. As long as they have one of those 5 typings as well, then you are good to go. And we are going to be taking a look at, I believe, a very strong team here. This is actually an ABB style team. So it consists of Malamar in the lead. Malamar has been a pretty much a staple here in the Great League ever since the buff to Psywave. And we have Malamar in the lead. And then we have 2 fairies in the back, Azumarill as well as Whimsicott. So they are used to bait out anything that the Malamar doesn't want to see. So that is kind of the idea of the team. And as you can tell here, Malamar is really good with Psywave, and then Azumarill is just a very big, bulky Safe Swap. I don't have the best IVs on my specific Azu that I'm running, which is why I'm running a 15-13-15-1. But I do have an XL that I will probably be building at some point. And then Whimsicott in the back is actually a very, very good core breaker in the Great League in general. Um, Although in this limited format, it will kind of get worn down by poisons quite a bit. So it is really good against fairies, and it actually is a very, very good wall to a Pokemon such as Greninja, as there are a lot of Greninjas that are going to be used in this format. So some of the other more common Pokemon you will see are probably something like Clodsire, Azumarill, as I mentioned, Malamar, things like that. So there is no shortage of Mons that most people do like to run, but this is a team that I have found very good success with, and I did get a 5-0 in this specific set here. So um, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just commentate on the rest of the battles here, but that is basically the team. Malamar in the lead, Azumarill as the safe swap, and then Whimsicott in the back. So going to be getting into the battles here. We're about to wrap up the first battle. The Whimsicott is going to be firing off the Moonblast up against the Mandibuzz. Not enough to KO, but a couple more Fairy Winds afterwards should be able to take the game against the Mandibuzz. Hopping into battle number 2, we have Malamar on the lead up against a Quillfish. So this is a great lead. This is where you want to see any poison type here with this team, because Malamar can apply the fast move pressure of Psywave, and then it can also fire back with neutral foul plays as well. So this is exactly where you want to see any poison types on the lead. Although for poison dark types like Drapion, there'll be a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and now pivot into Azumarill. And they come in with a Volt Switch Fortress, which is actually not that good for me. It is actually a little bit of a core breaker, as you can tell, because Volt Switch does super effective damage to Azumarill, and then Azumarill can only hit for resisted moves with the moveset here that I'm running, which is the Ice Beam and Play Rough moveset. You can run Hydro Pump, but I just think it's a little bit too expensive, and I think just the coverage from Bubble is actually okay as it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and fire off Play Roughs here. That is the move to throw against this Fortress, because Ice Beam does not get same attack bonus, so you will have to fire off those Play Roughs here against the Fortress. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to fire off Play Rough after Play Rough here against the Fortress. This one will be grabbing the shield. So at this point, I think I'm actually pretty comfortable letting the Azumarill go down. So that's exactly what I decided to do here. But I know that this Mirror Shot is also not enough to KO, so that's okay. I was trying to reach the move, but I cannot, so that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and wait Actually, I just come back into Malamar, so that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and let this move go. It is an Earthquake, so be it, and it is, which is fine. I'm just going to go ahead and commit to a very aggressive Psywave farm down here, and I do get it, which is great for me. And now I'm going to go ahead and fire off a Brutal Swing against the Runerigus. So it's good to see this here. I am going to go ahead and pivot into the Whimsicott straight away. So we'll see what the opponent wants to do at this point. But I'm going to go ahead and keep farming, and they decide to surrender because they let that move go, and there's not enough health left on the Runerigus to finish up the game. Hopping into the next battle here, we have Shadow Galarian Weezing on the lead. And if you guys didn't know, the Galarian Weezing was actually available as a Shadow for some point because you were able to evolve Coughing into Galarian Weezing for a limited period of time. But unfortunately for me, I do not have a Shadow Coughing built, so I wasn't able to build a Galarian Weezing that's a Shadow of my own. So that's totally okay. The opponent now pivots into a Charjabug. So Charjabug is a Pokemon you don't really see too much here in this limited meta, but that's great to bait this out here. It is actually technically a Core Breaker as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let this move go. It is a discharge, but it's not enough to KO the Azumarill here. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make another move, but I do not think I will. So that's totally fine. I'm going to go ahead and now wait the timer, and I'm actually going to come in with my Whimsicott here because it does resist all the charge moves except the X Scissor. But they're actually running Crunch, which is very surprising here. So definitely might be helpful to run Crunch if you wanted to avoid like a Clodsire or something. But in general, though, Charjabug should usually be running Discharge and the X Scissor. But I'm going to go ahead and let this move go. It is another Crunch. And they do get the debuff this time, which is unfortunate for me. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and now fire off a C-Bomb here. This should be enough to KO the Charjabug from this range. And I'm going to aggressively pivot back into the Malamar. And they come in with a Giratina Origin. So this is okay. And I do have enough for the back-to-back foul plays here, which is nice for me. I'm going to go ahead and fire off the first one. And this will be forcing a shield from the Giratina. So I'm going to be over-farming a little bit, and I do play to the CP tie, but unfortunately I do not win it. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and shield this move. It is just the Ominous Wind, but I do want to force down the last shield from my opponent here, or KO the Giratina. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off this next foul play, and this is going to force the last shield from the opponent, which is great for me. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to farm here, and then make sure my opponent doesn't catch. So I'm going to be able to fire off this foul play up against the Giratina, and this will be more than enough to knock it out. So my opponent will now have just the Galarian Weezing left. But at this point, this game is pretty much over. All I need to do is pretty much tank this move. If it is a Brutal Swing, I can definitely tank it, no problem. If it's a Sludge, I lose, but thankfully they're running Brutal Swing. So this is nice. They do have back-to-back, so I will shield this next move. And from this range, because the Weezing is also Shadow, a Seed Bomb should be more than enough to KO from this range. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Seed Bomb. I do over-tap a little bit, but that's okay. From this range, the Seed Bomb will be more than enough to knock out the Shadow Galarian Weezing. So that's going to be a great game. Very well played to my opponent. Hopping into the next battle here, we have Malamar on the lead up against a Zweilous. So this is not a great lead at all. This is not where I want to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot out into an Azumarill. And speaking of Zweilous, I have not seen a Zweilous at all in a very long time. It used to be actually very good in the meta, but I think just because of just how many fairies there have been, it's been kind of hard to run Zweilous. But I think I'll definitely give Zweilous a try at some point again in the future, in the Halloween Cup, and see how it does this time around. But anyway, we have Azumarill up against the Clodsire, which pivoted in, which isn't really the best matchup here, but at least I can still hit for super effective damage with the Bubble Fast move as well as the Ice Beam Charge move as well. And I do win the cap tie here, which is great for me. So this is totally fine. I can go ahead and now fire off this next Ice Beam, and the Clodsire actually decides to double shield. So this is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and let this move go. If it's a Stone Edge, so be it. If it's an Earthquake, so be it as well. But that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make it to the next Ice Beam, but I do not think I can. And I barely do not, which is unfortunate for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and pivot back into the Malamar, and I'm going to go ahead and tank one move, but I definitely cannot tank two. So I'm going to go ahead and let this first move go. It's just a Stone Edge, which is fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and overfarm as much as I can. And I will commit a shield here because I do want to save some energy up against whatever comes next on the Malamar. So I'm going to go ahead and shield this next Stone Edge, and then try to commit to a farm down here up against the Clodsire. And I am just able to do that, which is actually great for me. And the Zweilous comes in, so I'm going to go ahead and now fire off a Superpower here. And this will do a lot of damage, and after that I'm going to pivot directly into my Whimsicott and see what my opponent wants to do here. So the Zweilous can't really do too much here up against the Whimsicott. Body Slam will still hit for neutral, but Body Slam did get nerfed, so it's not really the best of moves anymore. But that's totally fine. And then we'll have to see what comes in. It's Greninja, so this is basically game over because I can easily KO the Greninja with a Moonblast, and then again, nothing from the Greninja can threaten the Whimsicott at all, so that's going to be game over. And well played to my opponent. And hopping into the next battle here, we have Malamar on the lead up against a Tentacruel. So again, this is where you want to see poison types on the lead, and they are going to pivot into a Trevenant. So this is actually something that I have not seen in a long time. And in hindsight, I could have probably stayed in with the Malamar here, but because I know how bad of a matchup the Azumarill and the Whimsicott have against the Tentacruel, this is where I wanted to see the Trevenant. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and fire off the Ice Beam here up against the Trevenant, and this is more than likely going to be grabbing a shield. So they do decide to shield the Ice Beam, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can play the ones here, and they do decide to commit to fire off a move here against the Azumarill. I'm going to shield it, and then I'm going to make them make a decision of whether they want to keep their Trevenant or play for switch. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off this Ice Beam here, and the opponent actually decides to let it go, which is actually perfect for me. So now they do come back in with a Tentacruel and get a little bit of farm, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and now come back in with the Malamar because this is the matchup that I want. I do not want the Tentacruel lined up against the Whimsicott at all. So I'm going to go ahead and shield this move. I believe it is going to be the Scald. So this is where I wanted to see it. And then I'm going to go ahead and fire off a move against the Obstagoon that comes back in. And they actually do... I'm actually going to throw off a Superpower here. And it's actually KOs. So this is okay. And now I think I made a little bit of a mistake here. I do decide to pivot back into the Whimsicott. And I'm going to go ahead and commit to the Moonblast, because the Moonblast will do a lot more damage here. So this is actually going to be doing a lot of damage or grabbing a shield from the Tentacruel. So the Tentacruel does decide to shield, which is interesting. But now I'm going to go ahead and come back in with a Malamar, of course. And I know that any one move will not KO the Malamar. So I should be in a pretty good spot here. They do fire off another Scald, but from this range, Scald is not going to be threatening at all, and I do not get the debuff, luckily, at all. So I'm able to get to the move here of Foul Play up against the Tentacruel, and this is going to be more than enough to take it out from this range. So great game, very well played to my opponent. And as you can see from this set, I was able to get a 5-0. So that's going to be it for this video. This is a very strong team, I believe, and definitely worth looking at if you want to climb far in the Halloween Cup. But let me know what you think about this video. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Any support will mean a lot to the channel as it continues to grow and make all that stuff. And if you guys want to stay tuned for all the latest content that I put out, feel free to hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with whatever comes next. And that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.